And they had a fire probably, and they drank some water, and they had a dog with them, and they had bodies, so they had things like eyes and fingers and hands, and they had houses, and they had hides to sleep and live on, and meat. All these stones around them, they had stars in the sky and ground beneath them. And they lived in this common place. And they all spoke one language called, this time we're calling it dee-ni. Okay, dee-ni. And then as time changed, we don't know what causes humans to do, because there's no written history from this period. For some reason, this language decided to, not the language, the people who spoke this language at that time moved apart. Was it the Ice Age? Was it game? Was it feuding? Was it, who knows why? Why did people, why did people pull up root and say, I'm out of here? It's called leaving the nest. Hey, and I'm going to go live over here, right? So why did somebody leave the nest of that place where they all stood around that common fire? So this is my little fire. There's your regular flames, okay? Get a little fire. And dee-ni, that is Juan, okay? And in there, well, there's a creek or a stream somewhere floating around there, and there was some ooh in there, okay? And over here, yapping was your friend that, forgive me. He was the sneak, okay? And then he looked at your hand, you go, ooh, my la. Okay, oh my quet. This is your lot. Here's your hand, here's your foot. Okay. Here's your quet. Okay, so at that point in history, in time, these folks were standing around this fire, barbecuing some shish kebab, something right there. Lizard, rabbit, I don't know, reindeer, elk, something, quail, whatever. Pounding some seeds over here, okay, whatever. And had dinner. Okay, so what's really cool about this language then, now this is just nouns, only nouns, is that then as these languages split across, went across North America and became the languages that they became today, the surface languages, they call them surface languages, guess what? U or o still means water. In huge cases, o, okay? La is just la. Juan became in some languages o. Either con, and pink and sling, it stayed the same, and wet became, like in some cases, cat. Okay? So now, back to Lenore's question earlier, see what happened? They moved apart, they emerged, and they went into different environments. Okay? And so what happens then is that where we live here, you don't see a lot of se. Okay? Se means stone. Se means rock, pebble, all that. Se, right? Because why? How come I don't see a lot of se when I look around? Covered trees, brush, moss, grass, everything, right? But when the dee-ni people went to the southwest, down there with Navajo people and Apache and so forth, there's a lot of se, right? Everywhere you look, there are se. There is no grass. Well, you know what I'm saying, compared. And so on. So what happens is that dee-ni has one word, or dee-ni, excuse me, has one word, se. But when you go to the Navajo, they have a word for every single type of kind of rock that's in their environment. Sandstone, turquoise, obsidian, flagstone, every single one of them has a noun, right? Why? Well, because language is about communication. If you stub your toe on a piece of obsidian, you want to talk about that, right? It's got a name, whatever, okay? Now just the opposite. So when they were together, there was this word at that time called tuk, okay? Tuk means fish, salmon, okay? So we move, or they left, whichever it is. We're by the water. So what do we have lots of here? Many kinds of tuk. So guess what? There are many words for tuk. Chi, la, trick, te, hunt, ni. Lunch, bean, sling, da, strop, all the fish has a name because every single day you see it, use it, eat fish. Now you go to Navajo, what do they have? One word, tlok. They go tlok. They wrecked it. They go tlok. Okay, all right. But the point is, you can see grammatically and evidentially here that these are identical, right? Okay. And so again, environment is going to then push and stir on need for development of language and variety of language, right? Just from the environment itself. And then the Hoopas, they moved off over there on the Trinity River, and they developed nuances. Again, I'm not saying which progenitor rated what, I'm just saying they're different today. We have a nasalization in dee-ni, meaning that you can have a vowel that's either R or on. Well, in Hoopa, it's always got to be on. They never have a vowel. I mean, they don't nasalize a thing in their language. So we have a and they have So phonologically, that's hugely different. Because if I say yashte, they have to say yashte. See, that sounds so different on the surface. Just changing that one phonological phonemic element changes that language, which you hear completely differently, right? I mean, not completely. Again, you can register that it's different. So this is what happened in North America, and that's what this map is trying to, is illustrating to you, is that these folks all had the same mama language, the same matrix language stuff. And today it's now called the ne, because it's, it's the ne. Oh, Navajo developed something else. Now we think they developed this because very other languages don't have it, or do they not? It's tone. So what is tone? Does anybody know what a tonal language is, or tone in a language? Okay, so what happens in tone is very interesting. So if I have a word, so right now I'm speaking at a certain tone, right now. But if I raise the tone from, like, say, ta, or tone, I change that, that's called tone. But the important thing about tone is that it changes the meaning of the word, see? So if I said, we don't tone in dee-ni, but see, some good examples, but like, it could be the difference between like a cob of corn and a typewriter or something. I mean, it's just that tone changes the meaning. So what the language has learned to do over time is exploit one writing, but give two different tones, and it makes more available to the language to use. See, so it's called tone.
Korean's like that.
What is?
Korean.
Korean has got tone?
Yes.
And a lot of African languages have tone. Tons of them have it. Chinese has at least 2 to 3 tones. Okay? And that's one of the funny examples. One means chicken, one means like poop or something. One means
one is like mom and house or something like that.
Something.
Can we say, because I can't hear the difference.
Right, because we're not tone speakers or hearers, right? See, so we can't hear it.
That's interesting.
We don't have a trained ear for it.
That's exactly right. Now, if we grew up hearing that, when you said, and now what we have are things like glottalization. Like, so if I say, let's see, what was it? If I say versus ta. Now, a non-speaker, ta, don't really care so much, right? But means the rear end, or the end of a boat or something, the rear end, and pop means dad. So very important that you know the difference between pop and pop. See, those are called minimal pairs, for example. See, so Navajo developed this tone thing, and I think some of the central, maybe Alaskan languages have this tone thing going on that we don't use here.
That's interesting.
We don't. Well, we have a thing called there's a theory developed called tonogenesis, how they understand that human languages develop tone, and what we have though are the rising tone. We have the rising patterns for tone. Like if I say, like when somebody's learning a language, you know they mispronounce it, like because they're using the wrong emphasis. Like if I say shra, and someone else says gashron, my ears are going, oh, that sounds horrible. Right? Gashron, really? It's shra. But see, there's a so if I write shra, so shra, and you're pronouncing it gashron. See, my ears are going, that's jacked up. See, but then if you pick another series of words, there's these shapes that go over the words. Okay, and that's what creates tone to begin with. Because if I can start saying, just flat, shra, and shra, and they become to mean stone, creek, and tree. Then it changes, you see. So the theory of tonogenesis helps us understand how human language does this. But anyway, we for some reason chose not to go there. And meaning our ancestors, the people using the language here, for whatever reason decided not to. And again, I don't think it's a conscious decision. I don't know. We don't know that, but yes.
The example I can give for English is when you're asking questions, but it's generally in a sentence.
Oh, the whole
Would
sentence.
be the whole sentence, like if you ask a question, your voice goes up.
At the
What-
end.
At the end. So, you know, but it's a whole sentence, not just a word.
Going to town? Going to town?
Yeah.
Well, you already like the F word. That has a lot of tone in that word to mean lots of different things.
Or with slang, you can say seriously
Yeah.
or seriously.
Exactly.
It means two
Yeah.
different things.
Or sure is the new one that drives me nuts. Does that mean yes or no? Would you like dinner? Sure. Remember the window? Sure. What kind do you want? Apples or oranges? Sure. Oh God, I'm going like, don't do that to me. Give me some tone on it. You know, 'cause I used to be sure when I was young. I was like, sure. Get out the dog. You know what I mean? You know? And now I'm like, sure, sure. Thanks. I need more help, please. Okay, so that's kind of this map is showing you, and it's really funny when Athabascans get on Athabascans and they'll say, you guys changed the language. And then all the time, oh, you guys changed the language. And yet there's enough core there, there's enough, grammar there on the ground, you know. Like when I hear fluent Navajo, you know, they have a j sound in them. You don't have a j sound, you know. Not a little bit, but they understand me. That's what's crazy. When I talk Indian, they just nail me. You know, it's like, all right, that. Oh, you are pretty good there, you know. And then they're talking, I'm like going, you know, like, well,
Yeah, but what sound?
Mine's like almost a nasal, like
A DZ.
yes, and you're like, going, where did that sound come from? You know, like that. And then, like Hoopa, we have a ch too, but then ours turned into ch and tr, and they don't have the tr version. They go, where'd that tr thing come from? You know, like, and we're going, ask grandma. You know, ask great grandma. You know, or ask your great grandma why you changed. They don't. No, it's just, you know.
They did head over the mountain.
Yeah.
The ones that
They
got
did head
lost.
over the mountain.
Yeah, they left the
They got
courtyard.
lost looking for berries.
Yeah, and Hoopa Valley, right? And merged over there. And anyway, so this is so language geekism can be fun. You know, and this is why you're being tortured here. Now,
Cindy loves it, she speaks.
now, the word connect. I wanted to show you this word, how it works, how it functions. So, if I'm going to go to Crescent City in dee-ni, I'm going to a place called Ta'atun. Okay, Ta'atun. Ta'atun is Crescent City, right? Now, if you were born there and your parents lived and your grandparents lived there and they held dances at your village and you guys had climbing rights at that beach and fishing rights at that creek and hunting rights on that ridge, then you're not just, you are now a member of Ta'atun. You're not going to the place Ta'atun to visit, you are a member of that place. So the grammar of the language has a thing called two kinds of possession. One is alienable possession. So just kind of alienable possession and inalienable. Okay, so what happens is there's two different systems we have, okay? So the language believes this, and then when I say this, what I mean when I say that is the language, the mind of the language, okay? The worldview of the language. So the language believes that there are two kinds of ways to own things in the world. One type is a smaller set of structure, but it's inalienable possession. It means that you own something. If this jar exists in the universe, right? And I'm me and it's sitting at table's back, right? They exist in the universe separately. That's alienable possession. But inalienable possession means my fingers don't exist in the world by themselves. They're attached to my hand, which is attached to my arm, which is attached to my body, right? So that's inalienable, okay? Now,